encouragement, vision that really happens today at Tosmun 2026 in the Oxford School, Calicut. Welcome you, sir. And I extend my welcome to Mr. Shah Jahan Jayam. He's the admin manager of the Oxford School, Calicut, and his administrative backing made this Ambitions Conference possible. Welcome you, sir. And I welcome our head of sections, Mr. Shanir, the head of secondary section, and Mrs. Jyoti Lakshmi, our head of the pre-primary section, to this grand Tosmun 2026. And I extend the welcome to Mr. Sanal, the academic coordinator of the Oxford Schools. Welcome you, sir, to the Tosmun 2026. Now, I use this time for welcoming all the faculty advisors. They have come from across Kerala. We have the school from the Kollam. We have the school delegations from Palakkad, the delegation from Kalburgi, Karnataka, and across the Kerala we have more than 250 delegates we have. And I welcome you all the faculty advisors and the escorting staff to the Tosmun 2026. Now I extend welcome to the parents, those who have accompanied their children for the grand Tosmun. Welcome all the parents to this ceremony. Now I extend my welcome to all teaching staff, non-teaching staffs, and all those who have gathered here to this event. Welcome you. Once again, I welcome you everyone to this opening ceremony of the Tosmun 26. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that warm welcome. It is now time to hear from the leader who continuously inspires us with vision, wisdom, and guidance. With great respect, I invite our esteemed principal, Dr. Anas, to deliver the presidential address and share a few words of inspiration with us.
In the name of Almighty, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Good morning, one and all. Respected guest of the day, T.P. Srinivasan sir, academic head, Mr. Sanal, admin manager, Mr. Shah Jahan, HOs, Mr. Shanir, Ms. Jyoti Lakshmi, principals of other schools, accompanying staff of other schools, all delegates, diplomats. A warm welcome to the Oxford School. So emotionally, I'm standing here because it is really a dream come true for me. In 2019, I happened to meet T.P. Srinivasan sir in his office in Toronto. Before also, we were associated, means he came for 1 or 2 programs when I invited. So I just met him in his office. So by the time he himself told me that, Anas, why can't you do something like UN replica? The word he used, UN replica rather than MUN. So for me, it was a new term, I felt. Then I asked him about UN replica. So I understood he has been doing this for long years for different schools across India. He has been in the field of this one, and he is propagating the idea of UN. And he is going voluntarily, in this age, he is going voluntarily to so many schools. I think last month also he was busy with that, and next month also he is going to be with that. I understood right from there, it's not that easy to conduct one program like this in a school. First, we need a team for that. We started working on that. We send our students in different schools and different area, different part of India, and they start learning what is the model UN. And we all, in delegates, you have come here not for a competition. This is a kind of collaboration among the schools. Now 25 schools across Kerala and some schools from out of Kerala have arrived here. That is not for a competition. We are going to discuss what is across the world, what's happening. On the globe, our students are going to deliberate what's happening on the globe. And the beauty of this one, this is the celebration of critical thinking. We have been talking, the CBSE fraternity always have been talking that critical thinking, creative thinking, global thinking, 21st century skill. All these kind of things, all kind of 21st century skills are going to be culminated, going to be collaborated today and tomorrow. These 48 hours, we are going to witness the same thing. Our students are going to listen each other. Not speaking much. Speaking is very less happening here. And they are going to understand what the interest of different countries. Although you are representing some countries, despite your belief system or your interest on each country, today I'm sure that you are going to represent each country and you are going to listen others. Global issues are not very easy. You all know that it's highly complex. One country cannot solve it. One idea cannot solve it, obviously. But our students, I'm sure that this age group, they're very good enough to deliberate on that. They're very good enough to think of that. And they will think critically. They will discuss each other. They will listen to each other. You will be debating, sure, but with dignity. And these 2 days, 48 hours, I'm sure, we are going to witness not kind of entertainment program. We are going to see completely academic things, thinking process, deliberating, and negotiating. I wish you all that kind of successful 2 days of thinking process, critical thinking, creative thinking, communication. All these kind of skills should be achieved, should be shared. And all students, all teachers, and all other non-teaching staff behind this. It's not very easy to make this as a big event. So I'm so thankful to you all. And once again, the delegates all the way from different parts of Kerala, that's also not very easy. You have come here, you have gathered here, not for enjoying some kind of entertainment. You are going to seriously witness some important topics, some important aspects, some important issues related to India as well as related to the world across. Once again, I thank you all being a part of this one. And as I already mentioned, T.P. Srinivasan sir is the right person for this to inaugurate. I don't know how this friendship developed in between us. Just on a WhatsApp message, he responds to me, Anas, I'm ready to come. I asked him for coming last week actually, but there was some other issues. So I again requested, sir, can we change the day? Without much hesitation, he changed the day. And he took risk of coming all the way from Trivandrum till Calicut. Yesterday morning itself, he has reached here. And he has been waiting for this moment here to come and meet you all. And as I mentioned already, he is the right person to talk about UN. 20 years of the representation of India in UN. Nobody can claim that. four different capitals. Four different capitals. He is the only person from India, only official from India represented in four different capitals, continuously 20 years. And we cannot say any other dignitary or any other guest may be suitable for this event to happen here, to open here. So the Oxford School's first MUN will be inaugurated by most respectful T.P. Srinivasan sir. We are so proud of you, sir, and we are so thankful for being with us, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for igniting our minds with your words. We now come to a moment of great distinction in today's proceedings. It is our privilege and honor to welcome a distinguished diplomat and statesman whose remarkable career has contributed significantly to India's presence on the global stage. We are deeply honored to have with us our esteemed chief guest, Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, former permanent UN representative of India. His extensive diplomatic experience and profound understanding of international relations make his presence at Tosmun truly inspiring for our young delegates. May I now respectfully invite our esteemed chief guest, Ambassador T.P. Srinivasan, to address this august gathering and share his invaluable insights with us.
Your distinguished principal, Dr. Annas, other officials of the Oxford School, and I must address you as the distinguished delegates, because once you enter the United Nations, you lose your name. Nobody calls you by your name. You're always a distinguished delegate of a country or the other. That is the first transformation that takes place. And since we are actually projecting what exactly happens in the UN, we have to follow all the procedures. And one change that makes with you is that you are from now a distinguished delegate to the country you represent. Today is a historic day. We are celebrating not only the UN, but also celebrating the anniversary of Indian independence. I'm so glad that this day was selected because this day is very significant in the history of all of us. I'm sure many of you must have heard the Prime Minister speaking this morning, and with what optimism and with what courage and what determination he speaks of the developed India in 2047. You remember President Abdul Kalam used to say that India will become a developed country in 2020. I asked him once, do you believe in it? Do you think it will be 2020, India will be a developed country? He smiled and said, well, if it doesn't happen in 2020, it will happen in 2040. But the idea is to have a dream. You know, Dr. Kalam was so fond of talking to the children. And he always said, dreams are unlimited. There is nothing that you cannot dream of. Whether you realize that dream or it remains a dream is a different matter. So now today, India is focused on a developed country by 2047. When people ask me whether this will happen, I always say, one thing is sure, I will not be there in 2047. But many of you will be there. And therefore, you are part of that dream. The most important thing that happened to India this year, just a few weeks ago, a big change has taken place in Indian history. The young people have taken over. the Gen Z, the Generation Z, has really come forward and demanded the ownership of the country. This has never happened. We never consulted our young people. I was in higher education. I consulted everybody, but I never consulted the students what they would like to learn. Have you ever done that? We ignore them. We think that we know better than them that what we should teach, what should learn. But what we saw in Jantar Mantar a couple of weeks ago was a realization that the youth is not happy. They want to take charge of their own future. And it's not a small message. We may not actually absorb the importance of it, but now when the Prime Minister speaks, we hear a different language. He is talking about the youth taking over the country. And of course, the old people will continue to direct and help and assist. But the responsibility to build the nation, it belongs to the Gen Z. They have made big changes in countries like Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bangladesh. We should have taken that lesson, but we did not. Till our own youngsters went forward and defied the government and declared that they want the ownership of this nation. So that puts a very heavy responsibility on all of you. And on Independence Day, we must realize that. Politicians may not accept that. They may say, oh, this was one other demonstration. It was not. It was a revolution in the offing. And that is the first thing that I'd like to remind you of. The second thing is the United Nations. As you know, India and the United Nations grew up together. United Nations was formed in 1945 and India became independent in 1947. But you must remember that even though we were not independent in 1945, India was one of the original signatories to the UN Charter. Because India was almost independent at that time. People could have said, wait for 2 years. Nobody asked us to wait for 2 years. And India signed as one of the founding members of the United Nations in 1945 when we were still not independent. And since then, India has been part of the history of the UN. All the good things that happened and all the terrible things that happened in the world, we were not just witnessing, we were participating. Peacekeeping operations of the United Nations, which is spread all around the world. India is the largest contributor of peacekeeping troops for the United Nations. Our people have died. More than 100 Indians have died in peacekeeping operations. But have you ever heard of anyone complaining about it? Nobody said our children are getting killed, so we will not go to the UN peacekeeping operations. Even today, the largest contingent of UN forces belong to India. So we have stood with the UN all through, but we were very much committed to its idealism. We know it had its failures, and many wars have been fought. The UN declared that from today, that is the day the Charter came into force, it said that we want to rid the future generations of the scourge of war. These are the words of the Charter. To rid the future generations of the scourge of war. And when are they talking about it? At the end of the Second World War, when the world was completely devastated. The use of the atomic weapon, in first time in history, ruined the entire nation of Japan. And even today, people are suffering on account of the use of the nuclear weapon. So the world was united in its determination to avoid war, avoid nuclear war, avoid arming the world. So, among the major initiatives of the UN was disarmament, complete disarmament of the world. But we know in reality that weapons have only increased. Weapons of mass destruction are ready now to destroy the world. Do you know that the United States, which is the most powerful country in the world, has the capacity to destroy the world 57 times? Isn't it enough that you destroy the world once? Why do you need the capacity for 57 times? Because they want to dominate the world. Nobody else should dominate the world. But you know what happened 9/11. 10 young men who did not have even guns in their hands, did not even have a knife in their hands, conquered the United States. United States was defeated for the first time and forever to know that power of the gun is not going to dominate the world. Without any gun, 10 people destroyed the confidence of the United States. And that was another landmark. So many things have happened, but the United Nations has remained intact. But unfortunately, as you may know, today the United Nations is ineffective. Ineffective because we made a fundamental mistake of giving the 5 winners of the World War the power of the veto. That was the greatest mistake the United Nations made. But why was it made? Because they were the winners of the war. And they are coming to develop a new structure of the world. And since they were volunteering to create a new structure, we gave them the responsibility for peace in the world. So the veto power, which was given to US, UK, France, China, and Russia, was not a trophy for winning the war. It was a responsibility that they will undertake to keep the peace in the world. They did. Many times efforts were made to prevent conflict. If conflict breaks out, to stop the war, keep the peace, rebuild the nations, and all this pattern we followed. So though there were 800 wars in the last 80 years, the damage is much less than what could have been, because reduction of arms, banning of nuclear weapons, and many things that the UN. But unfortunately, the power of the veto destroyed the UN on every occasion. And today, do you know that the Secretary General of the United Nations is not allowed to enter a member country? It is the bottom of depravity. Secretary General is persona non grata in a member country. I don't want to mention his name. And who is the Secretary General? He is the conscience of mankind. He is not just an administrator of the UN. He has the responsibility to find places where conflicts take place or likely to take place. And from that preventive diplomacy to rebuilding of countries after the war, every responsibility rests on one gentleman. So far, no lady yet, but maybe the next Secretary General may be a lady. And that person cannot enter a member state. And even more disastrous is the fact that one of the permanent members who has a veto is fighting against another member of the UN. That is the end of the UN. If a permanent member who is given the responsibility to safeguard peace in the world fights a war for the last 5 years, I'm talking about Russia fighting in Ukraine, how can it be justified? Whatever may be the reason. So permanent member who wants to keep the peace is fighting a war today. A Prime Minister of Ethiopia who has won the Nobel Prize for Peace is fighting a war against his own people. United Nations decided to establish two states, Israel and Palestine. Israel is a powerful, strong nation today, but Palestine is non-existent. How can we accept that? You will be surprised to know that India voted against that resolution. When the UN passed a resolution saying there shall be two states, we were fully supportive of Palestine. We were friendly to Israel, but we said this is wrong. You cannot divide a nation. And India voted against it. But once the resolution was adopted, India recognized both Israel and Palestine. And we are the first country in the world to declare Mr. Arafat as president of Palestine, not as a PLO leader. And so India has stood steadfast on the UN, and it was because of that in 1948, when the Pakistanis invaded Jammu and Kashmir, we could have stopped them within 15 days, because India was a much more powerful country than Pakistan. And the military leaders went to Pandit Nehru and said, give us 10 days, we will throw the aggressor out. But you know what Prime Minister said? Prime Minister Nehru said, look at me, I have lived for peace all my life. And that is why I am the Prime Minister of India. And do you want me to start my career as Prime Minister with a war? Unthinkable. Then he reminded the people, do you know that we have established the United Nations just a few days ago? So instead of throwing the Pakistanis out of Jammu and Kashmir, he went 15,000 miles away to the UN and made a complaint to the Security Council. And complaint is still alive and well. Nothing has happened. Pakistan still occupies the so-called Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. India has the rest of the Jammu and Kashmir, but we cannot remain with our part of the country being occupied by another nation. But what is why is it not changing? Because we accepted, I think it was very wrong, at that time for the sake of peace, we accepted that Jammu and Kashmir is a disputed territory. We forgot all about that, but the whole world knows that India has accepted Jammu and Kashmir as a disputed territory. Then we send people out to tell all the countries in the world that Kashmir is part of India. How can I say that? We send representatives, delegates abroad to convey this message. But nobody supported us because we had agreed to resolve it by peaceful means. And what is the peaceful means decided? That there will be a referendum in Jammu and Kashmir. But that referendum was never held because the terrorists took over. So we are still waiting for that referendum to take place. And if the people of Jammu and Kashmir tomorrow decide that they want to leave India, they can do so. But can they do that? Once an ambassador told me, an Arabic ambassador told me, Mr. Ambassador, why are you so keen about Jammu and Kashmir? You are such a large country. Jammu and Kashmir is a little place. Why don't you give it to Pakistan? I said, okay, I agree. He was astonished. I said, I'll give Pakistan Kashmir today. But will you, I asked that ambassador, guarantee the security of 100 million Muslims in India? If Jammu and Kashmir says that we cannot live in India because we are Muslims, what do we do with our 100 million Muslims in India? Will the Arab countries come and save them? He said, no, don't give. So that is the situation. We have gone by the word of the law, of the charter, in every way, till today. We have respected every word of it. But Pakistan keeps saying that you have not had the referendum. But how can you be the referendum when there is terrorism all around? Now, the Security Council resolution about the referendum says that first of all, Pakistan must leave the occupied Kashmir. Secondly, India must establish our control over Jammu and Kashmir. Then hold the referendum. So we are waiting for the first step. Let Pakistan first of all withdraw from POK. Let India establish its administration. This is what the UN has asked. And then we will hold the referendum. We have patiently waited and we are still waiting. So if one country in this world has gone against our own interests for the sake of world peace, is India. And that is what we have served United Nations for. But as I said earlier, United Nations today is most ineffective. Because of the veto, one country or the other vetoes any resolution. These 5 permanent members rule the world because they have the veto. You cannot change it, you cannot remove it, you cannot add more countries because then you need a change in the charter. And to change the charter, you need all the permanent members to vote for it. And 2/3 majority of the General Assembly has to vote for it. It will never happen. That is why today UN is ineffective. But you should not say that the UN has not done anything for the world. Now this is the 80th anniversary. On the occasion of the 70th anniversary, the newspaper people asked the Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, he was the Korean Secretary General. He said, what is the greatest achievement of the UN in these last 70 years? And normally, UN officials say, oh, we prevented a third world war. There may be 800 wars, but there was no third world war. That is because we are there. He didn't say that. He said, I am very proud that the UN has inoculated entire world's children against infectious diseases. Do you know that? There is no child in the world today who is not inoculated against infectious diseases. Of course, there are other diseases you cannot prevent. And millions of lives have been saved. That alone is a great achievement of the UN, even if they have done nothing at all. So one specialized agency, WHO, has saved so much lives. But then what happened during the COVID crisis? UN was completely disabled. Do you know why? Because there was suspicion that China created the virus. And therefore China did not want any UN action. And can you believe when millions were dying on the streets of the world, the Security Council did not even meet because China said this is not our job. We are only interested in peace and security. This is the biggest threat to mankind. Do you know how many people died during COVID? The UN, the WHO took 2 years to create a virus, to create a vaccine. On those 2 years, millions of people died. If the Security Council had met and taken action, I'm sure the vaccine would have been developed in 2 months because there was no international cooperation. India came forward. You remember we sent our vaccines even when we wanted them, we needed them. But we sent them all to developing countries of the world. India became the pharmacy of the world. But since the UN Security Council did not act together, the UN failed absolutely and completely. So they have not been able to prevent conflict. They have not been able to fight against pandemics. And so the United Nations has no credibility today. And what is that is required? You need to reform. First of all, we must remove the veto. Or take other countries as permanent members. Japan is not there. Germany is not there. India is not there. Not even one country from Latin America. Not even one country from Africa. Then what is this UN representing? Who are they representing? So India has been fighting for a reform of the Security Council. We have great faith in what happens and we follow, but at the same time, we are against this kind of imperialism. And that is where we are moving. So your discussions should not only be discussing what is happening in the UN, you must also come out with strong statements about what should be done. Multilateralism must be strengthened. UN must be reformed. Security Council should be expanded. And none of this is possible without a change of heart of the permanent members. Well, anyway, coming to the purpose of the model UN, as I understand it is to bring UN to your own homes. I don't know any one of you will go to the UN at some time in your life. At least as a tourist you can go to the UN. Or even better, you can be Indian diplomat, posted to the UN. I spent 20 years in those little halls of the United Nations, dark rooms in the basement. But if you ever go there, you must get the feeling, oh, I have seen this before. That is the purpose, nothing else. You may want to dance and sing and fight against each other, it's all fine. But the purpose of it is to have a taste of what the United Nations does. And therefore it has to be done the way it is done in New York. That is why I suggested that we must have a backdrop which looks like the United Nations. That is why I suggested that you all have flags. So this is an idea that you are learning what the UN does. I can tell you, UN is not a very interesting place. Most of the time it is dull speeches or they are fighting against each other. They can do all that. But please don't do what our legislative assembly does or our parliament does, throwing chairs at each other. That doesn't happen in the UN. So UN is a very dull place. When one person speaks, nobody else speaks. So you are going to have a legislative assembly of Kerala. That will be totally against the UN. So in fact, I suggested to Dr. Anas that you should avoid that. Because UN is not a parliament. UN is not a legislative assembly. They are not elected individuals. There is no chief minister, right? The UN is different from other democratic bodies that people don't realize. So when Pakistan speaks, somebody will scream and shout, point of order. Nothing. It doesn't happen in the UN. Then how do we do it? Suppose the Pakistani Prime Minister speaks in the morning. He speaks horrible things, but no Indian delegate will raise his hand. You're not allowed to. You listen to him patiently, you listen to everybody patiently, and 6 o'clock, the President will say, does any delegation wish to make a statement in the right of reply? Then the Indian hand goes up. And India is only given 3 minutes to speak about what the Prime Minister said. Then 2 minutes are given to the Pakistani delegation. Then 1 minute is given to India. That's all. You can't scream, you cannot shout, you cannot throw stones. So you should have that. You should not pretend also you are in the Kerala Legislative Assembly. It's very different. And that is why I started a movement, not of a model UN, but of a UN replica. Do it exactly as in the UN. And we have done it in many, many schools and colleges in India, different parts. And that's what I advised him to do, and I'm glad that he has done much of what I had expected. So, in India, we are very optimistic, but the UN is not optimistic. Do you know, you heard about Russia-Ukraine war or war in Palestine. But do you know there are 59 wars taking place today in the world? You don't even hear about it. Every part of the world. What is the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia? Have you heard about it? What is Ethiopia doing fighting against his own people? What is happening in Haiti? What is happening in India, Pakistan? So, the UN has not fulfilled its promise. And it's your job to debate these issues in a practical, disciplined manner to show the way to the UN, because you are the Gen Z. You have to take care of the future of the world. And that is the purpose of model UN. You can have fun, you can have go-go in the evening, I don't mind all that. But when you are in the sessions, follow the rules. You must all read the charter at least once. Charter is only about 20 pages. You can put it in your breast pocket. Read it at least once. Then there is a official procedure of the General Assembly and Security Council. Read those two. That will also take only half an hour each. Then you will realize the importance of what you are doing. Follow the rules, but look ahead. Suggest new ideas. Make compromises. That is one purpose. The second purpose is for you to learn debating. I know you all do debates in the college and universities. But the best place to learn your debating is in the UN. Because you can follow the documents. And if you are a delegate of Nigeria, you can easily find out what Nigeria's ambitions are. So it's like a play acting. All of you, when you say you are Jordan, you are acting a play. Because you are no more Indian, you are Jordan from now on. So you must know everything that Jordan says. And you should speak that language. And that is one way of contributing to international. All this will not be achieved in one or two, but now the model UNs have spread all around India. There is even an IMUN. I don't know whether you heard about that. That's a national body, because they don't do model UNs. But their idea is to take Indian culture, Indian spirituality to the UN. It's a huge, I've been to their meetings, 4,000 people, 5,000 people, young people come there. They're not doing what you do, it's not a model UN. But they talk about what India can contribute to the UN. And it's a very highly respected organization. So all these, we have to give a new life to the United Nations because it is now virtually dead. 2 months ago, the Secretary General said from July onwards, I will have no money to run this organization. Have you heard that? It's from July, I'll close the UN and go home because nobody has paid their dues. You know, every member of the UN is supposed to pay a certain amount. Big countries, a lot of money, smaller countries, poorer countries, little less money. Like, take a country like Kiribati, they only pay $1,000. United States pays 22% of the budget. India pays 4% of the budget because it's on the base of your capacity to pay. But whatever is your contribution, you must pay before the end of February of that year. And this end of February, only 44 countries paid their money, including India, out of 193. So how can the Secretary General run a United Nations? He said, I'm closing down in January. Then President Trump gave him $16 million, said, please don't close. That's a pathetic situation today. So all these you have to absorb. And then when you go out of here, you must be ready one day, go into the General Assembly and the Security Council. You know, there is a word called déjà vu. It's a French word. You know, sometimes when you go to a new place, you will feel that you have been here before. Some kind of, you know, sensitivity. So you should feel that when you go into the UN, oh, this I have seen in Oxford School. That is the purpose, not to just do anything that you like. And so do it according to the law, rules. Act as a member of the UN, the country allotted to you, and contribute to the general understanding. You will be wiser. And this is probably the best activity that any school can provide. Well, one problem with diplomats is we can never stop speaking. We can just start speaking, but I don't want to do that. I'm very happy that you invited me, and I enjoy it because this is what I did for 22 years. So it's like a nostalgia for me, and I feel very happy, sentimental. But I hope that you will go out of this exercise with a greater awareness of what UN really is and what India can do for it. Thank you very much. I'm happy to inaugurate this model UN.
Thank you, sir. I kindly request our chief guest to remain on the stage for a moment. Once again, thank you for imparting your valuable experience and sharing the history of India. It is time to honor our distinguished guest. I respectfully invite our principal, Dr. Anas, and our admin manager, Mr. Shahjahan JM, to kindly join us on the stage and present a memento to our guest as a token of appreciation and gratitude for gracing this occasion with his esteemed presence. Thank you all. Okay. We now move forward to another significant moment in today's proceedings. At the helm of Tosmun is a young leader entrusted with the responsibility of steering this diplomatic forum with vision, commitment, and purpose. The Secretary General plays a pivotal role in setting the tone of the conference and inspiring our delegates to engage in meaningful dialogue and diplomacy. It is my privilege to invite the Secretary General of Tosmun, Muhammad Nasif, to address this distinguished gathering and share the vision and aspirations for this year's conference.
I could stand here and tell you I'm honored, but you've probably heard that 100 times or so. So let me tell you something true instead. Take a look around this room. Take it in. For most of you, Tosmun 26 begins today. For some of us, it began months ago. Before there were delegates, there were spreadsheets. Before there were committees, there were arguments at midnight. Before there was a conference, there was a question. A small, reckless, yet beautiful question. What if we actually pull this off? And somewhere between that question and this moment, Tosmun stopped being ours and became something far, far bigger than what we could ever imagine. Were there hard days? Absolutely. Frustrating days? More than I can count. But every single time it looked impossible, someone stepped up. And that, more than the posters, more than the numbers, more than any schedule, is what I will remember from Tosmun. The people. The people who stayed when they could have gone home. The people who took the blame when something went wrong. The people that looked at a disaster and said, you know what, we'll figure it out. To our teachers, our secretariat, our organizing committee, our delegates, our volunteers, thank you. You took an idea and gave it a heartbeat. And delegates, finally, now this is yours. For the next 2 days, these battlegrounds of ideas, these places of disagreements, negotiation, pressure, compromise, and if we're lucky, we might just see some genuinely brilliant diplomacy. And running those rooms is your executive board. Chairing the United Nations Security Council is Abhiram J., a final year law student from Mark Gregorius College of Law. The saying goes, if there's a placard in the room and there's a mic, Abhiram is probably already there. Joining him as Vice Chair is Nishant Krishna, founder of Idea MUN and the President and Secretary General of the Campion MUN Club. Oh, did I mention he's just 15? Thank you. The United Nations Human Rights Council, your chair, Ganga Pramod Kumar, a penultimate year BBA LLB from Bangalore, 60 plus conferences deep, a former Secretary General of CAMUN, a karateka, an entrepreneur, and a Millennium Fellow. In other words, just don't mess with her. Alongside her is Jyotiraditya Singh, who believes the dais isn't a throne, it's a responsibility to make every delegate who walked into that committee better. Thank you for joining us. The Kerala Legislative Assembly, your chair, Arjun S. Nair, winner of Speak for India Kerala and two-time Kerala representative of the National Youth Parliament. If eloquence were a sport, he'd be holding the trophy. Joining him is Pramit C. Menon, as Vice Chair, a law student of Government Law College, Ernakulam, a former Secretary General of the inaugural GLCEMUN. Thank you for joining us. Chairing the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and Empowerment of Women, that is UNW, is Anamika Yu and Vice Chair Kushi Chandran. Two people who know this committee isn't just about debate. It's about making sure that voices that get ignored elsewhere are heard here loudly. The International Press Corps. Who else but Devaka Vipin, hailing all the way from Calicut, a mechanical engineering student at the College of Engineering Trivandrum and an avid MUN journalist with a passion for storytelling and media. Now last but not least, the United Nations General Assembly. Your co-vice chair Sahil Sundar Das, a class 12 student at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Manavila, with 15 conferences and 12 awards already behind him. Remember that name. Mohammed Shahid, a final year economics student at Amar Ivanios College, nearly 5 years of MUN across India and Bahrain, and 2 secretary generalships. He's shared them, he's won them, and he's here now. And now last but not least, how could an MUN be complete without Sohit A. Robin? Normally I would stop here, but I'll go on for the benefit of everyone. 170 conferences, 12 states, more than 20 cities, a history graduate with a diploma in UN and international understanding. And no, that's not a typo. When Sohit speaks, the circuit listens, and I don't think I need to say much more. That is the executive board of TOSMUN 26. And now from a personal note, this is something that has taken the past couple of months in my life. There have been days where we sleep at 2 in the morning, there are calls at 12 at midnight, there are arguments, debates, problems. But looking at all of you right now, you know what? It was worth it. So to every one of you here, thank you for carrying this.
Thank you, Nasif. Before we proceed with the formal deliberations of Tosmun, let us take a moment to celebrate the spirit of our nation as we mark the proud occasion of Independence Day. What better way to celebrate the spirit of our nation than through the universal language of music and dance? May I invite our talented performers to take the stage and make this occasion a truly memorable one. Let us welcome them with a warm round of applause.
काहे तेरे जैसा कोई नहीं, मैं गाया जहां भी बस तेरी याद थी, जो मेरे साथ थी, मुझको तड़पाती रुलाती, सबसे प्यारी तेरी सूरत, प्यार है बस तेरा प्यार ही। माँ तुझे सलाम, माँ तुझे सलाम, अम्मा तुझे सलाम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम।
यहाँ हर कदम कदम पे धरती बदले रंग, यहाँ की बोली में रंगोली सात रंग, यहाँ हर कदम कदम पे धरती बदले रंग, यहाँ की बोली में रंगोली सात रंग। धानी पगड़ी पहने मौसम है, नीली चादर ताने अंबर है, नदी सुनहरी भरा समंदर है, देश रंगीला रंगीला, देश मेरा रंगीला, देश रंगीला रंगीला, देश मेरा रंगीला, देश रंगीला रंगीला, देश मेरा रंगीला, देश रंगीला रंगीला, देश मेरा रंगीला।
जय हो, जय हो, जय हो, जय हो।
आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तले हैं, आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तले हैं।
जय हो, जय हो,
आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तले हैं, आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तले हैं।
जय हो, जय हो,
जय हो, जय हो, जय हो, जय हो। आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तले, आजा
हरी वाले नीले आसमां के तले,
जय हो,
शब्दों
जय हो,
में दे
जय हो,
भाले दे
जय हो,
एक दे
जय हो, जय हो, जय हो, जय हो।
What a breathtaking and mesmerizing performance. Thank you, team. As we come towards the conclusion of this inaugural ceremony, it is time to express our heartfelt gratitude to all those who have contributed to making this occasion truly memorable. To deliver the vote of thanks, it is my privilege to invite our esteemed faculty advisor, Ms. Habiba Amal, to acknowledge the invaluable support, guidance, and presence of everyone who has been a part of this momentous occasion and to take further proceedings.
respected chief guest, our esteemed dignitaries, respected management, principal, distinguished guest, HOS, teachers, delegates, and students. As we bring this inaugural ceremony to a close, we stand at the threshold of 2 days of debate, diplomacy. Before we begin this beautiful journey, it is my privilege to extend a heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made this beginning possible. As we begin this inaugural ceremony, I take my opportunity to thank and welcome our chief guest, T.P. Srinivasan, Ambassador of UN Assembly, for gracing this occasion with his valuable presence. Your presence has added an immense significance for this inaugural ceremony. I would also like to express our sincere gratitude to our management and our principal, Dr. Anas, our admin manager, Mr. Shah Jahan, and head of the section for your gracious supports and encouragement and guidance for making this Tosmun into a reality. A special award of appreciation goes to the Secretary General, the Executive Board members, the faculty coordinators, and the entire organizing team for your dedications and preparation have brought this event together. Our heartfelt appreciation also goes to all the school participants, teachers, and the student delegates. Your enthusiasm, commitment, and willingness to participate in this debate and collaboration have laid the Tosmun a spirit. As we conclude the inaugural ceremony, the journey of the Tosmun begins. Every delegates make the best use of this platform, not to compete, but to learn, lead, and listen. Once again, thank you all for being a part of this special beginning. I wish every delegate and every member of the Tosmun family a entertained and memorable day ahead. Thank you, and let the proceeding of the Tosmun begins. Before we move, we now proceed with a photo session with our chairpersons and delegates. As the juncture, I request all the students of the Oxford School to kindly move towards the designated exit and leave the gallery exit, allowing us to facilitate the photo session.